This is Bedtime Stories, Grownup Edition, Queenpin 2.0, bonus episode 4, part 1. When we left off, we finally found out how Tru was rescued and how Jira got away. We also found out how Lil Jose sealed his own fate. Wise took a bullet for Selima. He jumped in front of her right when Lil Jose tried to take her out, and at the same time he returned fire, injuring Lil Jose. It was Big Wood who ended Lil Jose's life. At the round table, the Queen Mother asked, were you in your feelings or was there a bigger plan? While the Venezuelans are no match for the families, we certainly don't need to be making enemies. Big Wood said the Venezuelans were already enemies from the moment that they conspired with the Colombians to broker a deal that would be to the Colombians' advantage in exchange for Jira. Now, I'd be a liar if I said I didn't have feelings, but yeah, there was a bigger plan. The plan, with the family's blessing, was to make the Venezuelans pay for the triple cross. After Selima made that second call to Big Jose arranging the meetup, and LJ told me she had no plans to actually show up there, I knew then that Santiago would see right through the no-show. He'd try to stop us from getting Lil Mama back, but he was going to make damn sure we didn't get our hands on Jira. So the minute that we drove off from that warehouse, I made the call. Samuel sent in a team to erase Big Jose and everybody in his operation. The Queen Mother said, makes sense. Now, I understand how he got the video with all of y'all on it inside the warehouse. But how did he end up with a gun with your fingerprints on it, Woody? Woody said, we had Tru back, but it wasn't over. 1 month and 3 weeks earlier. Before the team could exit the building, Big Wood looked at the second in command and said, you did great, and what we owe you will be transferred to your account as soon as we get to the safe house. But we still need you. And since you're compromised, you still need us too. So what you trying to do? The second in command said, help me get my family out of Colombia and I'm all yours. Big Wood said, done. Then he made a video call on his satellite phone and handed it to him. On the screen was the man's wife. Big Wood had already sent a team to that man's house to provide protection for his family, just in case the Morenas figured out that he'd been flipped and decided to get retribution of their own. So the second in command told his wife to go with the men. They'd be reunited as soon as possible. Then he handed Big Wood the phone back and said, damn, y'all thorough. As the entire crew made their way to the back door exit, gunshots rang out. Looking around at the team assembled, Big Wood realized that Donovan and LJ were not among them. Tru had used her medical skills to bandage up Wise as well as possible, and Woody had assigned 3 men to help assist Wise out of the building. They more carried than assisted. He sent them, Tru, Selima, and Rennie out the front door. Radioed to his team, who was in the front, to come around the sides of the building towards the back, while him and the remainder of the team, who were on the inside, went out that back door. Wood checked his pistol before he cleared the door because he'd lost count of how many bullets he'd let off up until the point that he found Tru. He knew that the worst sound in a man's ear could be a boom when you were expecting to hear a click, and a click when you were expecting to hear a boom. Realizing that he was empty and he was all out of clips, he tucked his spent weapon and then he tapped his right hand and asked him, what you holding? And before the man could answer, Big Wood heard the telltale signs of an explosion. Despite the fact that the explosion was behind the building, it was strong enough to rock the whole building and knock all the men inside off their feet. When they collected themselves and Wood assessed the damage, several men were injured and requiring assistance exiting the building. In the back exit was a pile of rubble. The team made their way to the side door, the one that Rennie used to save the day, made their way around the back of the building and found several men engaged in hand-to-hand combat. Weapons spent, it was every man for himself. And right in the thick of things was Donovan, fighting for his life. Big Wood snuck up behind the man, grabbed him in a headlock, and squeezed. Flailing and trying to find purchase, the man grabbed on to Big Wood's waist. And when his hands landed on Big Wood's Sig Sauer, he pulled it and was sorely disappointed when he expected to hear a boom, and he heard a click. And 17 seconds later, he took his last breath. Hearing another explosive incoming, Big Wood said, let's go. And everybody with him took off running to the parked SUVs. Inside, he realized that man he choked out was still holding his gun. When Big Wood called Marley to give him a status update, he found out that Marley couldn't send in any cleaners. The warehouse and the entire property adjacent to it was up in flames. Marley said, it's a wrap, yo. Go ahead and pack it up and head home. When Woody told Marley that he had the second in command for the operation to keep Tru on lockdown, Marley gave him instructions. At the round table, the Queen Mother said, so that's how Santiago's man His wife and his son ended up in Puerto Rico with LJ, Wise, Salima, Donovan, and Rennie. Big Wood said, yep, and I was left with the bag. The Queen Mother said, what you talking about? Big Wood said, I was the one who had to tell Regina that LJ had been shot. The Queen Mother said, oh, dear God. Salima said, better you than me. That girl almost as crazy as Rennie is. Tru said, well, don't leave me out, because I was the one who had to keep her from killing Donovan and Rennie in Puerto Rico 1 month and 3 weeks earlier. Stephanie, Tru, and Rennie were reunited in Puerto Rico. As soon as Rennie laid eyes on Stephanie, she fell apart. Best friend, they done shot my big brother, girl. Oh, my God. Stephanie said, girl, pull yourself together. That man is going to live. Rennie said, guess what? I got a boyfriend. Stephanie said, oh, God. Please tell me that this boyfriend is real. Rennie said, yep, and you'll never guess who it is. Stephanie looked at Tru, and when Tru nodded her head, Stephanie said, I'm not playing this game, Rennie. Who is he? Then Donovan walked up behind Rennie, wrapped his arms around her, and kissed her on the neck. Then he said, you should be proud of my baby. She put in work. She saved Jacody's life. Stephanie said, your baby? What the hell happened with you and Maribel? Donovan said, she conspired with your sister to keep my kids away from me. Stephanie said, what? My sister would never do that. And neither would Maribel. Donovan said, if it wasn't for them two and Bernie, none of this would even be going on right now. Stephanie said, I don't know what you're talking about, Donovan. And neither do you. Did you have a conversation with any of these people before you started accusing them of nefarious intentions? Tru said, of course not, girl. Please do not get him started. We all could have died in Colombia, and he's still talking about Angela and Maribel and Bernie. Donovan said, and Q. Don't forget about Q. Stephanie said, Q? Oh, yeah, you big tripping. You know, they got a facility here on this island that'll do wonders for you. Before Donovan could respond, Emmanuel Lopez walked into the room. Manny said, so, the gang's all here. Just so you know, if you worked for me, you'd all be fired. Salima said, Uncle Manny, we were doing what the families clearly weren't trying to do. Manny said, you don't know everything. I know you think you know everything, but you don't know everything. You think Woody was in Colombia by chance? He beat you there, Salima. And there was a whole team in place waiting to meet him there. Salima said, well, why didn't you tell me that? Manny said, why didn't you tell anybody what you were planning? Your father gave you a job to do. You should have done that job. The minute you left Venezuela, you were operating on your own, out of compliance and with a complete disregard for the rank and file. And that is unacceptable. Debrief Javier and head to Trinidad. Javier was Uncle Manny's right-hand man. Then Uncle Manny said, you three, speaking of Donovan, Rennie, and Tru, you debrief him and head back to Dallas. When Big Wood entered the room, he just finished his debrief, and Uncle Manny said, you need to head to Dallas, break the news to Regina, and make sure she gets here. Big Wood said, will do. But first, I need Tru to do her debrief and get checked out by medical so she can head back with me. Tru turned and looked at Big Wood and said, I just got reunited with my best friend. Woody said, I feel that, but somebody's got to travel back with Regina, and I got to get off the grid. Tru said, are you asking me to go with you back to Dallas and to fly back here with Regina, or are you telling me? Big Wood said, pump your brakes, little mama. Of the four y'all, you the only one that's not in trouble. And you just got a direct order to head back to Dallas. So you going either way. If you don't want to go with me, just say that. Tru realized in that moment that she was overreacting. She thought that Woody was trying to control her, and she was allowing her insecurities to get the best of her. She said, all right, no problem. While Tru did her debrief, Big Wood gave Manny all the information that he had on the Morena's second in command and the hostage operation. Manny said, you have no idea how much the families hate having to lose you. I have my hands in a whole lot of pots, and there are a lot of strings that I can pull. But if the prints on that gun hit NCIC, the National Criminal Information Center, there'll be absolutely nothing that I can do to stop the federal government from getting a hit, identifying you, and coming for you. Once you get back to Dallas and you let Regina know what's going on, do you have someplace you can go? On the plane back to Dallas, Tru said, thank you. I have no idea how you found me, but I'm so grateful that you did, because I don't know what Salima was thinking. Big Wood said, she wasn't. Well, At least she wasn't thinking about the bigger picture. She was thinking about making a name for herself. She was thinking like a finisher and not like a leader. And therein lies the problem. If Samuel doesn't get her under control, she's gonna end up in the same position he found himself in when he started that war with the Ramirezes all those years ago. After a brief silence, Tru said, "Before you shot Lil Jose, you said something." Big Wood said, "Don't worry about it, little mama. When we get back to Dallas, I'm gonna break the news to Regina. You offer to travel with her back to Puerto Rico. Once y'all are in the air, I'll let Manny know, and then he'll put Donovan and Rennie on a plane back to Dallas. That way they won't come in contact with Regina." Tru said, "But I don't understand why you can't go with her. I need to find out what's going on with my father, or was that a ruse?" Big Wood said, "Let's find out." Then he called Pastor Corey, who was in North Carolina with baby Kari. He handed Tru the satellite phone. Pastor Corey said, "Tru, are you okay?" Tru said, "Yeah, I got checked out by a doctor. I just got some bumps and bruises. Black eye, busted lip, but I'm all right." Pastor Corey said, "You really need to get to North Carolina, but I don't know if you should show up like that. Your family's getting antsy, and I've been holding them off. You're going to need to call them and tell them something that makes sense. I can't lie for you." Tru said, "What's going on with my father, CT?" Corey said, "It's not good. He had a massive stroke. He's been in a coma for over a week." When the flight landed in Dallas, Tru said, "Take me by the condo so that I can get my real cell phone." Big Wood said, "That condo's been wiped. All your stuff is in storage at the firm." When Tru got her phone, she had like 30 missed calls, 17 voice messages, and 50 text messages from her mother and all 4 of her sisters. When Tru listened to the last voicemail from her older sister, Morgan, she called Pastor Corey back and said, "I'm not coming. I appreciate you going and being with my family. I'm sure that they needed it. But if I come there right now, it's going to be 2 funerals instead of 1. Tru's sister Morgan had left her a nasty voicemail. It was so full of expletives that I can't even repeat it. But in essence, she told her that she was selfish as hell for leaving the restaurant, abandoning the family, and the fact that she was choosing work over her father meant that she was going to be excommunicated from the family. She threatened to kick Tru's whole and entire behind if she didn't return her phone call or show up within 24 hours. And she had left that voicemail 4 days before, when Tru was being held against her will in Colombia. Morgan had talked big smack, and to add insult to injury, Tru could hear her mother in the background saying that Tru always chose Stephanie and Rennie over her own family, and that she hoped whatever she was doing gallivanting around the world with Stephanie was worth abandoning her family. When Big Wood asked her what was going on, she didn't say. She was so upset, she didn't even realize that Woody hadn't told her why he couldn't go with Regina back to Puerto Rico. When they got to the estate, Regina was waiting in the sitting room with Q, Angela, and the Queen Mother. When Woody broke the news to Regina, y'all know Regina lost it, right? Regina said, "Oh, y'all better get Donovan some help, because if my husband doesn't make it back here in one piece, it's going to be me and him." Big Wood said, "Regina, calm down. He's going to be all right. He took a bullet to the shoulder. He was checked out. He's currently under medical care, and he just can't travel back to the States right now. Tru is going to ride with you to Puerto Rico." Regina said, "Puerto Rico? How in the hell did he end up in Puerto Rico? Why not just bring him back here?" Big Wood said, "Because it was going to take too long. He needed medical attention. The flight to Puerto Rico was only 3 hours and some change." The Queen Mother asked, "Where was he flying from?" Big Wood said, "My dear, you're going to have to talk to your brother about that. I'm not authorized to provide any other details." The Queen Mother said, "Boy, don't I'm not authorized me. I asked you a question. Where was he flying from?" Q said, "My dear, don't do that. Don't put him in that situation. Just have a conversation with Uncle Samuel. He'll tell you what you need to know." The Queen Mother said, "And Tru, what the hell happened to your face?" Tru said, "Woody, how you say it? I'm not authorized to..." The Queen Mother said, "Girl, don't play with me. Your father is in a hospital fighting for his life. Why are you going with Regina to Puerto Rico?" Tru said, "Well, I was with LJ when he got shot, and my family has no idea what's going on in my life. They decided that they already know what's going on in my life, and their reaction to my absence wasn't what it should have been." The Queen Mother said, "So you just not gonna go and see about your father?" Regina said, "I don't need Tru to go with me. True, you need to go to North Carolina. Matter of fact, you want to do something for me? Since you didn't keep my husband from getting shot, carry your in to North Carolina and see about your family. You don't like how they reacted? Tell them that in person. I bet it was that loudmouth Morgan. Punch her in the face and see about your daddy. The Queen Mother said, Woody, get Tru to North Carolina. Then she looked at Q and said, make that happen, ASAP. Regina got on the Lopez plane, headed for Puerto Rico, and Big Wood escorted Tru to North Carolina.